Hello and welcome, my name is Frank Fischer, and in this short video I would like to show you around a bit using the DeepCode plugin in WebStorm. So without any further ado, let's switch to WebStorm. So this is WebStorm. As you can see, I was loading up a project here. Let's open this one. So you see this is a typical JavaScript React project that we have here. And as you can see, currently DeepCode is not activated on this project, so to say. Why this? You see there are like 4 things in the event log, and I kind of click away this. And one of the things in the event log, if we go up, is DeepCode here is asking for the confirmation to be allowed to scan this project. So this is the first time that I open this project in WebStorm here. I already installed the DeepCode plugin. So there's another video that shows you how to do this. It's like 50 seconds and you're done. But this is already done. So we installed the plugin and we already have the token to authenticate ourselves to the backend. So, but this is a brand new project, and DeepCode is asking you every time before we scan anything to give us a confirmation that we are allowed to scan this project. So we are saying here, okay, we're giving a confirmation, and you can see down here DeepCode kicked into action and started to work on this project. So if we go now and click on DeepCode, you can see there are already results in. It found 15 issues in 11 files, and here are the severity levels of these files, and with this result window here we can literally work on these results. Okay, so let's get rid of this event log here so that we have the full space and explore a bit what we can do here. So this is a toggle switch that says single click navigation. So if you switch it on as it is now, and you go into, you drill into the results that we have here, it will actually bring you inside of the source code file where the suggestion resides in the big editor window, as you can see here. So if I click around, you see we are jumping in between these windows. If I switch this off, I'm actually no longer jumping in the big editor window. And this is quite interesting in combination with this thing here, with the preview window. So if I switch on the preview window, you see this window on the right side here, and you see we are jumping now on the source code in this window on the right. So we are no longer messing up with the big editor. We are now having our personal preview window that we can use to see where the suggestions are. So this is a quite nice extension if you don't want to mess up with your editors. If you click on this, I would suggest you switch off the preview, because then you see in the big editor where you jump to. These two here are actually the expand and collapse. So if I go on expand, you see all of my suggestions expanded, and if I go collapse, obviously the opposite works. And you can also see behind here the number and the severity level again. So the blue are infos, the yellows are warnings, and the red ones would be hardcore errors. Then we have this tool symbol here, and this brings us to the DeepCode settings. Another way to see the settings is if you go to File and then Settings. You see here is DeepCode settings. So there is a new addition. If we go on this tool symbol here, we land in the DeepCode settings. So this is the same, so to say, window, different path. This like checkbox here is a marker. It's not active, so you cannot enable or disable the plugin by this. You have to do this within the plugins. This shows the plugin is enabled because it has the tick inside. You see here is the server URL. So this is now facing towards the DeepCode provided internet API. So this is the internet, the endpoint of the DeepCode API in the internet, hosted by DeepCode. If you have your own DeepCode server, so you have the Docker installation with your own DeepCode server, you can actually add your own or insert your own URL in here, and then DeepCode plugin here will work towards your own server infrastructure inside of your premises. So this is one way of using this plugin inside of your own on-premise installation. Then we have the token ID here. This was the token that was generated in the first video where I showed how to log in and to generate this token here. If you delete this token, you force the plugin to regain a token. So literally will run the login again. Or if you already have a token and you want to reuse that token, you can literally enter your token ID or your token in here. Then we have the severity levels. So there is info, warnings, and errors, and you can see you can choose which one you want to see, or if you want to see all, and this is the default. All is the default. There's also the switch for linters. We are providing linters to run with your analysis with DeepCode in the cloud. You have to be a bit careful with these linters because sometimes these linters are very slow. So the scan can take much longer than it would normally do with DeepCode only, because the performance of the linters is not on par. Obviously, you can switch it on here, and then you will get the linter results also. Good. So these were the settings. Then we have this Earth symbol here, and the Earth symbol is actually quite interesting because what you can do here is you are getting to the dashboard of the project in the web. So what happens is whenever we do the analysis, we are caching the results in the infrastructure and the web for roughly 24 hours, and you can use this web interface then, and the web interface actually has more information. So what you can see here is it has more info where you can follow up on this is OWASP now, for example. You see examples of the open source community, how they solved the issue at hand here and stuff like this. So it's a bit more information that you get than within the plugin as of now. We're working on changing that, but as of now, the web is a bit more information loaded in that regard than the plugin is. Yeah, and last but not least, we have this eye symbol here. And the eye symbol will do a rescan and send the whole thing to be analyzed again in that regard. Okay, so if we are now going into one of these, and we are actually we are actually hovering over the default. You can see that DeepCode has the suggestion here. And also you can see here more action. Ignore this particular or more actions. If we click on more actions, you see there are two options that DeepCode comes up with. Ignore this particular suggestion or ignore the suggestion in the current file. So what you can do is, for example, if this is now test code, yeah, and DeepCode says, hey, you have a hard-coded password, but obviously for testing purposes, this is exactly what you would like to do. You can actually say, hey, forget about this. This is test code. There's no need to check on this. And we're doing this by, when you're clicking on here, you see we are inserting a kind of a comment above this entry here, and we are now saying file DeepCode ignore React modify prop. So we are saying for the full file, DeepCode shall ignore this specific rule that was fired here. And we are also highlighting this part on the back here where you can leave a comment for your colleagues and saying, hey, I want to ignore this rule here because it's only test code, or whatever reasons you have to ignore this. So this is for you and your colleagues to comment why you're doing these things. There's another way of managing the source codes and stuff like this. So for example, you don't want to have the node modules being scanned or things like that. There's the opportunity to insert a file that is called dcignore. And this dcignore file has the same setup like gitignore. So if you know how to do gitignore, you know how to do dcignore. And with dcignore, you're literally asking the system to not scan certain file types, files, or directory paths, or whatever you want to exclude. So there's dcignore that you can use in that regard. Okay, so what I wanted to show you here was how the plugin works, how you can configure it, and some of the features that are in the plugin. And now I would like to invite you to do it yourself. Install the plugin and play around with it. Thanks for watching, but now it's your turn. Go to deepcode.ai and check out what DeepCode can do for your code.